Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I got to talk to actor, director, and producer Michael Nardelli. You may have seen him turn up in films such as The Collection or Circle, or on TV shows such as Revenge, The Mob Doctor, Heart of Dixie, American Crime Story. But we're here to talk today about his new series, Dark Web, which is an anthology sci-fi horror series. We also chat about what thrills him about acting, what's kept him interested in his craft, how he recharges after putting out the energy of a performance, and much more. Hope you enjoy. Hey, this is Les.
Hey, Les, it's Michael Nardelli. How are you?
Hey, doing great, man. Thanks so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
I've heard stuff about Dark Web now for it seems like almost 2 years. Can you talk to me a little bit about the gestation of the project and your involvement? I know you're more than just an actor on this one. Can you talk a little bit about how it came about? Was it coming off of the Circle that you and your brother and Mario decided to do this, or how did it all happen?
Sort of. So yeah, Dark Web came about a bunch of. I mean, we all Mario, my brother, and I had a lot of fun doing Circle, and went on to become a little bit of a cult hit.
Yeah.
When it went on Netflix, and I still get messages about it and everything. So it was cool that little movie wound up, kind of getting seen by a lot of people. So we definitely all wanted to work together again. We've talked about a Circle sequel, so that was one thing that we were kind of already in cahoots about. And then, yeah, Dark Web, I've always liked anthology shows. And then I had sort of this germ of an idea for an anthology show that would be connected by something. So you kind of have your cake and eat it too, of the anthology segments, but then an overarching narrative that would kind of tie everything together as you watched it. So because Mario and I talk about, we love the Twilight Zone and Black Mirror and all that stuff, but we talk about sort of, you get invested in certain characters and storylines, and then that's it. So we kind of wanted to try something new that would blend two different formats of having an overarching narrative that would conclude itself over the course of the season, but then also having these sort of individual segments that you could jump into in each episode. And then it sort of took the form, working with Mario and Tim, that idea turned into Dark Web, and the focus turned on to, the Dark Web itself, real stories pulled from that, and just sort of our experience, our generation's experience with technology as it continues to evolve and innovate.
Yeah, something that, I mean, from watching Black Mirror even back, pre Netflix, something that always appealed to me about that was kind of the same thing in a different way that appealed to me about Idiocracy. Seeing that gap between how slick technology is and how not slick actual life is, and that disparity between how great an idea something might be, but what's the crap end of the spectrum on this? What's my bad first car going to look like on a Minority Report highway when my magnet fails and I fall through a Porsche? And so that was something that really appealed to me about Black Mirror and about Dark Web when I saw the trailer for it. Is there something about genre that particularly appeals to you, or that you feel like kind of helps tell maybe a different story? I've heard it said sci-fi is kind of the sugar that helps the medicine go down sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Sci-fi and horror are my favorite genres, specifically kind of like the Twilight Zone genre where, it's sort of meaningful, moral, social, political stories. Circle was that. It had a lot of sort of the modern political and socioeconomic dilemmas that we're all talking about embedded in this sort of quirky, weird sci-fi thriller. So that's for sure my favorite, sci-fi or horror with substance, because I think it's entertaining, and then you can kind of discuss important issues that we're all talking about right now in a not too offensive or too abrasive way, and I think in a more metaphorical way. And I just think that's better storytelling, to be honest, and it's more entertaining, and it's what I've always been drawn to. So yeah, from Circle to Dark Web, it's always about sort of these sci-fi horror thriller stories, but also you know, a lot of the stories in Dark Web are meaningful to me and Mario and Tim. They're not just kind of like schlocky slasher, shoot 'em up, kill 'em up, you know, slice 'em up, whatever, even though there are scary moments. But it's all pretty meaningful and metaphorical and intentional. So that's just, from Twilight Zone on, I've always been drawn to that stuff.
I love that it's an anthology show. I'm always a sucker for anthologies, and I love the recent trend of those coming back. But I find myself constantly picking at, like, one of my favorite things recently on Black Mirror is kind of the casual universe that there's not necessarily a giant overarching plot to the season of Black Mirror, but there are shared people. High Maintenance does a similar thing where they're not interdependent stories, but you see a character and go, oh, you were a background in episode 3. And now you're the main in this one. And I find myself always loving that kind of connective tissue and always wanting there to be like a fifth story to arise out of the 4, you know, if you get 4 episodes, kind of wanting this extra story to framework it. Maybe it was coming up on Tales from the Dark Side type movies with wraparound frameworks. But I was really thrilled when I heard that Dark Web was going to have that. Do you have any particular examples of stuff you remember watching when you were a kid or growing up where you kind of put that away in the back of your mind of, ooh, that's how to do that?
To do like a combination of anthology and
do you have any particular anthologies or anything that you remember or things that helped form your style that you wanted for this?
I guess the thing a lot of people in my generation grew up on was Are You Afraid of the Dark? So I think that was like, although that was still pretty much standalone. It was kind of the same story, the same sort of scenario, kids in the woods and they tell a story. You know, the kids didn't really, from what I remember, didn't really have an overarching kind of narrative or plot. So, I mean, in terms of what influenced it, there wasn't real. I mean, I think that's what excited us about it was that we hadn't really seen it done too much. I mean, there's movies like VHS that I've done it, which I haven't even really. I've seen some segments from that, but I honestly don't think I could reference anything I've seen that does it the way that Dark Web does, which I think is what excited us was really doing our best to take on the challenge of having a serialized storyline that incorporates these anthology segments that all tie together at a certain point. As you keep watching, there are a lot of what you described, sort of that like Easter egg, scavenger hunt quality where you're looking for clues and there's, visual motifs and characters embedded that, you know, wind up later having more relevance than you think. So yeah, I mean, I think really the idea was more just something that Mario and Tim and I wanted to see that we hadn't seen before, which was combining two things that we love, which is, you know, stories about technology. I'm a big fan of serialized TV, and then I'm also a huge fan of anthology shows. So it was really, taking on the challenge of doing something that maybe we hadn't really seen done before was actually what excited us about it.
Yeah, I always feel like stuff like that plays into rewatchability as well. I just recently Russian Doll. There's always shows where you go, you know in your first watch, oh, this is going to be an absolute blast to rewatch with an eye out for a different area. You know, maybe not so much to the degree of Bandersnatch, but shows where you can go back through knowing the secret. Good Place, even not necessarily horror, but sci-fi. I know you were interested in acting from junior high, from a young age. Do you happen to remember in particular, was there any one moment on stage or a play you were in where it really clicked of this feeling is great and I have to do this?
Yeah, I think I was a freshman in high school when I kind of, I had done stuff before that, but, and then I went through sort of a period where I was kind of shy, I was always moving a lot growing up, so I was always the new kid. And then I did You Can't Take It With You. I don't know if you know that play or not. My freshman year, my theater teacher was like, "You're doing this." And I was like, "No, I don't want to. I don't know. I'm nervous here." I was still kind of wallflowery, I guess. But she forced me to do it. And it was really challenging for me at the time to sort of come out of my shell and perform in front of a bunch of people and everything. But I played Donald in that. It was like the comic relief. And by the time we got to show day, I really loved it. I knew I always wanted to do that because I just grew up on movies and theater and TV. So I loved just entertainment and storytelling. But when I did You Can't Take It With You, freshman year of high school, I felt like the results were successful, and I was like, oh wait, I'm actually, I'm really enjoying myself right now. I'm not, as panicked as I thought I would be, and people are laughing, and this is fun, and hey, I want this experience again. So I think that kind of solidified it. And I love that play. It's so fun.
And you did college at USC, is that right?
Yeah, I studied filmmaking and theater at USC. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what got you into the Groundlings in particular? I'm always curious what prompts people to, if they aren't studying something like that in school, what prompts them to take that first step of really laying the money down or going to take a class. But was it just the Phil Hartman type pedigree of the Groundlings, or was there something particularly that led you to that troupe?
Yeah, I was attracted to Groundlings. I mean, the alumni, obviously, like you said, Phil Hartman and Will Ferrell and Sherry O'Terry and Kathy Griffin, Kristen Wiig. Like, the alumni was amazing. So that's obviously a draw, because you're like, okay, they must have been doing something right there. Mm-hmm. And I just really wanted to. I enjoy comedy. I don't get to go out for comedy as much as I maybe do for dramatic stuff. So I really wanted to master those skills more. And I was particularly interested in improv, again, just because I think I can tend towards being shy at times. And improv, you don't really have that luxury. You just got to jump in and go with what's thrown at you. So I love improv because it forces me to be in the moment, because I can have a scattered brain where I'm like, oh, I need to do this and this and that, and anxiety and all that stuff. But with improv, you really have to hone in and focus and just be totally present and in the moment. So I think that's what drew me to that originally. And then I wound up loving all the teachers there and loving the program, got into sketch writing while I was there. And again, the live performance aspect of it was really fun. And I hadn't had that in a while. So I love that because, I was working more in like TV and film, so you don't always get a live audience. So doing improv and sketch for a live audience was also another draw for Groundlings.
Yeah, I think I'd heard you say in an interview talking about making Circle, how odd it was to shoot linearly, like straight through the movie, but also how to have the cast all in one room and not all moving around all the time.
Yeah, it was so cool. Again, that was like theater, and I think in Circle we had a lot of actors that came from theater, or we're doing a lot of local LA theater. And so I think everybody loved that because we all got to be in the same room. It was filmed in order, which is a crazy luxury that you never get. So you really, filming in order is so nice for actors, and you never get to do it. And just everybody being in one room was great because everybody was bringing their A game. You would see one person do this great scene, and you're like, oh shit, he's really going for it. I gotta step up my game. And normally you're kind of segmented, and you don't always see what all the other actors are doing until the show or movie is done and you watch it.
Yeah, I think it helps the Survivor aspect to Circle really click, y'all getting to film that way, just for truly getting to pace all the turns for every character and who betrays who and such. When I read how that was made, it was kind of like seeing behind the scenes stuff on Cube or something, of like, oh, that's ingenious. Yep, of course you'd have to do it like that.
Yeah, Cube. I love Cube. Yeah, Circle was just great. It was a really interesting filmmaking because, we had two cameras, but it was weird. We didn't even have to do new setups because it was just one circle, and the stage that we were standing on was the same, just circles. So we didn't have to move a camera. We just alternated all 50 people. When we had to do a new setup, we didn't have to move the camera. We just moved the actors. And it was like, okay, everybody move 10 circles to your right. It was really funny. It was like musical chairs. But it was definitely a cool experiment. I'm glad it worked out and people got to see it.
And now you've directed as well. Forgive me for not remembering the order here, but had you directed a feature or had you directed stuff prior to doing Circle?
So I only produced Circle. I've directed shorts, mostly shorts. I had a short called Dennis Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
That's the one I was thinking of.
It was a short film. And then I directed one of the longer segments of Dark Web. So I'm excited for people to see that because I feel like it's one of the more complex things I've directed. I took it super seriously. So, so we'll see. Hopefully people like it.
Do you feel like getting that bird's eye experience of directing changed your take on acting?
Yeah. Directing. Any other shoes I step into on a set help me reinterpret acting a little bit. Because, I think every position in a crew or an actor, they're all very concerned with what they're doing. And I think actors especially, it's sort of, we joke about it, but actors can sometimes be known to be, self-centered or focused on what they're doing, and because they're the ones on screen. I think when you're actually in front of a camera, you do feel a certain sense of responsibility of like, okay, well, I'm the one actually like in front of the camera now. This is important. I need to make sure I'm telling the story in a good way. And we're, putting everything into my performance that's going to sell the story, so it makes sense. But then like directing or doing anything else behind the camera, you see the whole world, the whole ecosystem of dominoes that have to be stacked for everything to work out. And you see sort of the community aspect and how important every job is. And, especially with directing, sometimes as an actor, you can get insecure and be like, okay, well, why aren't I getting direction? Or, well, why isn't he or she telling me, what to do here? Or oh, he or she didn't, why didn't he say good job? But then when you're directing, you're just like, you have so many decisions coming at you all at once and so many questions that literally your brain is just split in so many different ways that you don't always have time to sort of like hold everybody by the hand. So I think it definitely helped for me as an actor to not take things as personally, to not read too much into what people are or aren't saying, and definitely for sure to just be so respectful of every single person on the set, because everyone's usually stressed, happy but stressed. And everybody's kind of always under the gun, no matter, I think, what the budget is. There's always a rush to get the shots in and everything. So, I definitely, it's great for me as an actor to do other stuff, because I respect and love what everybody else brings. And it takes a village, as they say, again, to make a movie, and you have to be respectful of that village.
Yeah, I hadn't really considered the pressure of I think I would feel a bit like I'm the point person for 200 people's work, because a good portion of the audience at home is never going to think about, the other 199 folks that might be on a set getting a show done. They're just really looking at you in that scene. But there really is a village behind you. And at the same time, directing's got to be a bit like coaching. You can't just yell at a kid enough until they make the shot. You've just got to hope that you've done enough that the actor out there on point can hit their marks and do their job right. I would think it'd be kind of nerve-wracking, but pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. It definitely feels like a marathon, where it's like you gotta have some stamina because everybody's asking questions, and some questions you're not gonna have the answer to, and my biggest thing was trying to stay present, especially for the actors, because I am an actor. I wanted to be sort of like the director that I always wanted as an actor, but then also making sure I was giving attention to the DP and to the script supervisor, to everything. So it's juggling. It's juggling.
Was there anything in particular that you knew you wanted to do for your actors as a director?
Yeah, I think, I definitely sat down with every single one of them, and I gave them all references of things to watch and to sort of immerse themselves in the style and the tone and everything of what I wanted to accomplish with the episode I directed of Dark Web. And I really wanted them to go, it is sort of like we've been talking about, the horrific story. But I wanted them to sell the drama of it and the emotion of it and everything. And, even though there are effects and like some creatures and scary moments and everything like that, I didn't want that to undercut the drama of the story. I just really was there for them and wanting them to go super deep into the story and the content. And then also, I think just being present if it felt like something was, I think that was the biggest thing, being present for them if they felt like something wasn't working. or if we needed to change or evolve something. Like I know Dora, one of the actresses in the episode I directed, felt like she was being hysterical in every single scene because it was kind of a high stakes, high emotional role for her. And I was so glad she said that because she was totally right. And then it was like, okay, well, let's find the different layers of, let's show where your character can be, you know, a little bit more insecure here. Maybe let's have her have a cute moment here or a funny moment here. So it's not all wall to wall, like I'm scared, I'm freaking out, I don't want to die kind of thing. So that was, I guess, my long-winded way of just saying, like, I wanted to be there present on the day, even though we had a sort of strict plan to be free and loose and let them explore and have fun. And definitely always give them a take for themselves. I think that's nice at the, you know, once you've got your shot, be like, okay, here's one for you. Do whatever you want.
I've heard you say that you were a giant Buffy fan. Was it fun? Did you get to be on set the same days as Nicholas Brendon?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I didn't get to do any scenes with him, but I'm a huge Buffy fan. I was a big supporter of trying to get him for that part. We have a lot of Buffy. We stole so many actors from Buffy on Dark Web. We've got Julie Benz
and
Claire Kramer and Nicholas Brendon, and I feel like I'm leaving one out, but maybe not. So we got at least 3 Buffy fans. Julie was in Circle, which was awesome as well. But yeah, it was so cool to meet Nicholas, and you know, I had to. It's like, Michael, don't call him Xander. Don't call him Xander. Don't call him Xander. Not Xander. Not Xander. But even like when we were emailing the day before, like me and the crew were like, oh, Xander's going to be here tomorrow. It's so cool.
Oh, that's great. One last question. I'd read an interview with you where you had said that you were an introvert, and that's something that resonated with me because I definitely understand that kind of pull between enjoying some performative things but needing recharge. My wife is very extroverted, will be tired at the end of the same day and have like a party event to go to, and I can see that that's her reward that's going to recharge her. And for me, it's sometimes like just another task on the list of like, that's more social energy I got to burn. And
yeah,
I was wondering how you recharge from that. You know, when it is important that you have that in the tank as part of your job. You know, you really can't. You may not necessarily have the luxury of saying like, I don't feel like being in front of the camera this week.
Yeah, it's a struggle because I do like to be around people and I like to be social, but I also it does like wear me out. And I think I lean a little bit more towards introversion. But yeah, it's just, you got to pace out your energy. I mean, I meditate and do all that stuff. And I also just, you know, I try to dock alone time hours if I know I'm going to have to, you know, like before I directed, you know, when I directed throughout the entirety of Dark Web, I did have to cut out a lot of social activity just because I didn't have the energy, and you have to maintain the energy to get through a whole day on set doing multiple roles. So yeah, I mean, it's a challenge for me. I haven't figured it out yet. I wish I had a better answer, but I do dock my alone time hours, and, you know, meditation and stuff like that helps for sure recharge me if I have to get back in front of the camera or back doing something where I'm kind of in high demand of other people's questions and attention. But yeah, a lot of entertainers and artists and everything have that. And it's just something that we all have to deal with. I wish I was a little bit more social. I think it would probably help me in my career if I was, but I know exactly what you're talking about, where at the end of the day, you're just like, no more people, no talking, no social. Let's watch some Netflix and call it a day.
Am I remembering right that you've got a couple of dogs? I know my 2 dogs are a huge help for me as far as just a giant living stuffed animal that I'm responsible for.
Yes, 2 crazy Labradoodles. What kind of dogs do you have?
Australian Shepherds.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I love dogs.
Yeah, they're people definitely don't deserve dogs. They're awesome.
I know. Yeah, I choose dogs over humans a lot.
yeah. Best people I know.
I do. Yeah, they're just so amazing. I've always been a dog person. I just think they're amazing. We're so lucky to have them.
Yep.
Take care of them. They're a blessing, and I think they add like nothing bad. They add nothing bad to the equation. You know, it's all good.
Well, man, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me about Dark Web. I can't wait to give it a watch when it comes out. It looks great. Can't wait to see what you do next. Have a great rest of your day, man.
You too. Thanks, Wes.
Bye.
Bye.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.